Susan Blackwell stood tall on the bridge of the EFS Dauntless. She was an admiral in Earth's space fleet. The ship was Earth's best warship. It was big and strong, but to the aliens who were now walking around it, it seemed old and simple. 5. Alien visitors moved slowly through the ship. They wore fancy clothes that seemed to glow. They touched the walls and looked at the control panels with small smiles. "This is our main weapon system," Susan said, pointing to a large screen. "Our railguns can fire metal slugs at nearly 1% of light speed." The lead alien, High Counselor Vrax, made a clicking sound with his mouth parts. His skin was blue and had a pattern like scales. His 4 eyes blinked one after another in a circle. "How interesting that you still use physical projectiles," he said. His voice sounded like it was coming through water. "Most races give these up within their first century of space travel." Susan kept her face calm, but she felt anger rising inside her. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago. Humans were new to space travel compared to races like the Thalosians, who had been in space for over 10,000 years. Captain Alan Wright stood next to Susan. He was her second-in-command and best friend. His hands were tight fists at his sides. "Our weapons are reliable," Alan said. "They don't need exotic fuels or rare materials." Another alien, this one tall and thin with skin like green glass, waved her long fingers. "But they are so slow. Energy weapons are instant. And so dependent on advanced power systems," Susan replied. "Our weapons work even if main power is lost." The aliens moved to the engine room. There they saw Earth's nuclear fusion engines. These engines burned hydrogen, just like the sun. They made the ship move through space. "Nuclear fusion?" Vrax said, his voice higher than before. "We haven't used that since before we achieved faster-than-light travel. It's so dirty." "It's clean enough," said Chief Engineer Peter Donovan. He had worked on these engines for 20 years. "And the fuel is everywhere. Hydrogen is the most common element in the universe." The aliens looked at each other. Their faces showed they were trying not to laugh. Back on Earth, another important meeting was happening. In a large room with a dome roof, the World Senate was in session. The room was filled with men and women from all Earth nations. Defense Secretary Olivia Martinez stood at a podium. Behind her was a large screen showing pictures of Earth ships next to alien ships. The Earth ships looked blocky and simple. The alien ships were smooth and glowed with strange lights. "You've spent $3 trillion on this fleet." Senator Gregory Phillips shouted, his face red. He pointed at the pictures. "And yet we're the joke of the galaxy. Our ships look like toys next to theirs." People in the room shouted in agreement. Some stood up from their seats. Olivia raised her hands. "Please, senators. Yes, our technology is different from council standard designs. But there's a good reason for that." "You mean besides the fact that we can't match their tech level?" Another senator called out. "Yes," Olivia said firmly. "We build what works with materials we understand and can make ourselves. Self-sufficiency has always been humanity's way." A quiet senator named Henry Voss stood up. Unlike the others, he spoke softly. "What happens if we become dependent on alien technology we don't fully understand? What if those supply lines are cut?" The room got quieter as people thought about this. On the moon, in a lab deep under the surface, Dr. Nate Harrington worked alone. Well, almost alone. His lab assistant Kimberly Foster sat at a computer nearby, running tests. Nate's lab was messy. Papers and tools were everywhere. On a table in the middle was a strange device. It had large copper coils and many capacitors. Old-style electronics, nothing like the quantum computers and probability engines the aliens used. "Try it again," Nate said, pushing his glasses up on his nose. Kimberly pressed a button. The device hummed and the lights dimmed. Then a pulse of energy shot out. All the screens in the lab went dark. "Success," Nate shouted, pumping his fist in the air. "The EMP generator works perfectly." "The aliens would laugh if they saw this," Kimberly said, restarting her computer. "Using electromagnets and capacitors instead of phase-shifted tachyon emitters." "Let them laugh," Nate said, making notes. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, especially when they're ways we control completely. Back on the Dauntless, the tour was ending. The alien visitors stood in the launch bay, ready to return to their fancy ship that waited nearby. "We thank you for the tour, Admiral Blackwell," Vrax said. "Your ship is educational." "I'm glad you found it interesting," Susan replied. "Do not misunderstand," Vrax said. "Your people have done well considering your late entry into galactic society, but you have much to learn. The Council has decided to offer Earth advanced technology packages to help you catch up." Alan stepped forward. "At what cost?" Vrax's mouth parts moved in what might have been a smile. "Only your participation in the resource-sharing agreement. Some of your raw materials in exchange for our technology. You would benefit greatly." Susan and Alan exchanged glances. "We'll bring your offer to Earth's leadership," Susan said carefully. After the aliens left, Alan turned to Susan. "They think we're children." "Maybe we are, in their eyes," Susan replied. "Earth has only been traveling to the stars for 100 years. They've been doing it for thousands. But does that make them right?" Alan asked. "They treat technology like magic. Most of their engineers don't even understand how their own ships work. They just follow the designs handed down from older races." Susan looked out the window at the alien ship. It was beautiful, like a living thing made of light and flowing metal. "Our ships may not be pretty," she said, "but we built them ourselves. We understand every bolt and wire. There's value in that." Alan nodded. "I just hope Earth's leaders see it that way too." In the World Senate, the debate continued into the night. The question facing humanity was clear. Should Earth accept alien technology and become more like the other races? Or should humans keep doing things their own way, even if it meant being behind? No one knew the right answer, and no one could have guessed that in just 3 months, everything would change when the Council went silent. 3 months had passed since the alien visit. Admiral Susan Blackwell was asleep in her quarters on the space station above Earth. A loud alarm woke her up. The sound was high and urgent. It was the emergency alert, used only in the worst situations. Susan jumped out of bed and grabbed her uniform. Her computer screen was flashing red. The message on it said, "Level 1 emergency. All command staff report immediately." 5 minutes later, Susan ran into the command center. Other officers were already there. They looked worried. Large screens on the walls showed star maps and data streams. Captain Alan Wright saw her and came over. His face was pale. "The Galactic Council hub has gone dark," he said. "What do you mean, dark?" Susan asked. "No signals. No communications. Nothing. At 0200 hours, all contact with the Council station just stopped." Susan walked to the main screen. It showed the Council hub location. Normally, there would be thousands of signals coming from it. Ships, communications, data transfers. Now there was nothing. Just empty space. Could it be a technical problem? "Our equipment?" she asked. "No," said Communications Officer Lisa Bell. "We've checked everything, and it's not just the hub. We've lost contact with every Council world in our sector." Susan felt cold inside. The Galactic Council included 53 advanced alien civilizations in their sector alone. All of them had gone silent at the same time. "Get me Earth Command," Susan ordered. On Earth, an emergency meeting was happening. In a secure room deep under the city of Geneva, world leaders had gathered. The world president, Eliza Washington, sat at the head of a long table. Around her were the defense secretary, the science director, and other important people. Defense Secretary Olivia Martinez was speaking. "At exactly 0200 hours Universal Time, we lost all contact with the Galactic Council and its member worlds. All 53 civilizations gone silent in the same instant." The room filled with worried voices. President Washington raised her hand and people got quiet. "Is this an attack?" she asked. Science Director Frank Miller shook his head. "We don't know. There have been no weapons detected, no energy signatures, Nothing to suggest violence. They're just silent. Could it be some kind of protest? Are they shutting us out? Asked one leader. Unlikely, Olivia said. The silence includes worlds that have been friendly to Earth, and the timing all at once suggests something else. President Washington leaned forward. We need eyes out there. We need to know what's happening. I suggest we send a scout. Ship, Olivia said. Something small and fast. The Pathfinder is our best option. The president nodded. Do it. In space, Captain Alan Wright received new orders. He was to take command of the scout vessel EFS Pathfinder and investigate the Council hub. The ship was small but fast. It had the best sensors Earth could build. Alan picked his crew carefully. He chose Tactical Officer Lieutenant Carmen Rodriguez for her quick thinking. He selected xenolinguist Dr. Kevin Barnes for his knowledge of alien languages and cultures. Engineer Sam Parker would keep the ship running. Medical Officer Dr. Julie Waters came in case they found survivors who needed help. The Pathfinder left Earth's orbit at top speed. The trip to the Council hub would take 3 days. During that time, more reports came in from Earth's distant outposts. The silent zone was spreading. More and more alien worlds had gone quiet. It's like a wave moving outward from the hub, Kevin said, looking at the data. Whatever this is, it started there and is spreading. On the 3rd day, they approached the Council hub. It was a massive space station, built by multiple alien races working together. Normally, it would be surrounded by hundreds of ships. Now it floated alone in the darkness. No signs of damage, Carmen reported, looking at her screens. The structure is intact. Life signs? Alan asked. Julie checked her medical scanners. The readings are strange. There are life forms on the station, but the signals are weak. Communications? Alan turned to Sam. Nothing. I've tried all frequencies, all protocols. No response. Alan made his decision. We're going aboard. Carmen, Julie, Kevin, you're with me. Sam, keep the ship ready. They put on spacesuits and crossed to the station in a small shuttle. The docking bay opened for them automatically. Inside, the lights were dim, running on emergency power. The air was breathable, so they took off their helmets. The station was eerily quiet. They walked down long hallways that should have been full of aliens from dozens of worlds. Now they were empty. Look at this, Carmen said, pointing to a device on the wall. It was a gravity control unit, advanced alien technology. It's dead, not damaged, just not working. They found more technology in the same state. The quantum computers, the artificial gravity systems, the advanced power generators, all dead. But simpler systems like lights and airflow still worked. In a control room, they found the first aliens. 3 Thalosians sat slumped at their stations. They were alive but barely moving. Their eyes opened when the humans approached. Kevin spoke to them in their language. One answered weakly. He says it happened instantly, Kevin translated. One moment everything was normal. The next, all advanced systems just stopped. They've been trapped here for 3 days. What about other aliens? Alan asked. Kevin asked the question. The alien pointed to other rooms. They found more survivors. Aliens from many races, all in the same condition. Weak, confused, trapped when their technology failed them. Some were in life support chambers that had stopped working. The humans used their medical kits to help those they could. In the main council chamber, they found him, High Counselor Vrax, the same alien who had mocked Earth's fleet. He sat on the floor, his blue-scaled skin dull and dry. Captain Wright, he said weakly when he saw Alan. From the Earth ship. Yes, Alan said, kneeling beside him. What happened here? We don't know. Our technology failed. All of it, at once. The quantum fields collapsed. The AI systems went dark. The zero-point energy taps shut down. Vrax's 4 eyes blinked slowly. Even our personal devices no longer function. But our technology still works, Julie said. Our ship, our equipment, yes, Vrax said, your primitive technology. The word sounded different now, not mocking but envious. It seems that being behind has saved you. Alan looked around the chamber, at the dead technology and the suffering aliens. Then he activated his radio, a simple device using electromagnetic waves. Pathfinder, this is right. We have survivors, many survivors, and we've found out something important. Whatever knocked out their tech doesn't affect ours. Earth's fleet is now the only one still functioning in this sector of space. The radio crackled as Sam's voice came back. Captain, you should know. We've been getting signals. From beyond the rim. Something's coming this way. The Pathfinder raced back to Earth with its important news. Captain Alan Wright brought 20 alien survivors with him, including High Counselor Vrax. The aliens were weak. They had lived with advanced technology for so long that they struggled without it. On Earth, the World Senate met again. The room was packed with people. Admiral Susan Blackwell and Captain Wright stood at the front, next to Defense Secretary Olivia Martinez. What we've learned is shocking, Olivia said to the silent room. Some kind of energy wave has spread through our sector of space. It doesn't harm living things. It doesn't damage structures. It only turns off certain kinds of technology. What kinds? Asked President Washington. Dr. Nate Harrington stepped forward. He had been studying the problem for days. Anything based on quantum fields, zero-point energy, or artificial intelligence. The most advanced systems that the Council races depend on. And our technology? The President asked. Unaffected, Susan said. Our nuclear power still works. Our chemical rockets still work. Our radio communications still work. Even our computers still work because they use simple electronics, not quantum systems. The Senate members looked at each other. Some smiled, some looked worried. So our outdated fleet is now the only working fleet in this sector? Senator Phillips asked. He had been the one most critical of Earth's technology. Yes, Susan said. The mockery has stopped. Now the aliens are asking for our help. We've received distress calls from 12 alien colony worlds, Olivia added. Their ships can't fly. Their long-range communications don't work. Some are running out of food or medicine. President Washington stood up. Her face was serious. Then we will help them. Not because they mocked us before, but because it's the right thing to do. She turned to Susan. Admiral Blackwell, prepare your fleet. We're launching Operation Lighthouse. Earth will send ships to help as many worlds as we can reach. Over the next 2 weeks, Earth's fleet spread out across nearby space. The ships carried food, medicine, and simple technology that still worked. They helped stranded aliens and set up radio relay stations so worlds could talk to each other again. On D. The EFS Dauntless, Admiral Blackwell looked at the star map. Earth ships were shown as small green dots spread out across a huge area of space. We're stretched thin, she said to her officers, but we're making a difference. High Counselor Vrax sat nearby. He was getting stronger, but he still needed help to walk. Your people have shown great kindness, he said. The word seemed new to him. It's what humans do, Susan replied. We help each other. Now we help you too. We never understood your insistence on self-sufficiency, Vrax said. We thought it was stubbornness or fear of change. And now? Susan asked. Now I see it was wisdom, Vrax said. My people have forgotten how to live without our machines. We've forgotten how to grow food, how to make simple tools. Your people still remember these things. At the Luna Defense Complex, Dr. Nate Harrington worked day and night. He had turned his lab into a research center. Alien scientists worked alongside humans trying to understand what had happened. Show me again what happens, Nate said to Kimberly. She activated a small quantum device they had built. It hummed, glowed blue, then went dark. It's like something is canceling the quantum fields, Nate said. But how and why? An alien scientist with purple skin and 6 arms looked up from a computer. I think it's deliberate, she said. This isn't a natural event. Someone or something is doing this. Nate thought about this. But who would have the power to shut down technology across 53 star systems, and why? No one had answers, but Nate had a bad feeling. He called Admiral Blackwell that night. Susan, I think we should prepare for the worst. This might be the first step of something bigger. A few days later, his fear proved right. Captain Wright, now commanding a patrol near the edge of Council Space, saw something that made his blood run cold. His communications officer called him to the bridge. "Captain, we're picking up strange signals from beyond the rim. They're not like anything we've seen before." On the screen, they saw them. Huge ships moving toward Council space. They were black and shaped like giant arrowheads. They moved fast, using some kind of technology that still worked despite the energy wave. "How many?" Alan asked. "We count 37 large vessels," the officer replied. "Each one is bigger than our largest carrier." Alan made a quick decision. "Send a message. To Earth, highest priority, then let's move closer. We need to learn more about these ships." The Pathfinder moved quietly toward the unknown fleet. They used passive sensors only, trying not to be noticed. When they got closer, they picked up communications between the ships. Dr. Kevin Barnes listened to the signals. His face grew pale. "Captain, I can understand some of this. It's a very old language, but similar to one I studied." "What are they saying?" Alan asked. "They're talking about harvest time and collection points. They mentioned specimens and resources," Kevin said. "They're calling themselves the Harvesters." "Are they behind the energy wave?" Alan asked. Kevin listened more. "Yes. They call to the suppression field. It seems this is how they operate. They shut down advanced technology, then move into collect." "Collect what?" Alan asked, though he feared he knew the answer. "People, resources, anything they want," Kevin said. "They've done this before many times." Lieutenant Carmen Rodriguez looked up from her screen. "Captain, they're spreading out, moving toward multiple council worlds at once." Alan saw the strategy. "They think nothing in this sector can fight back. They don't know about us." "What can we do?" Carmen asked. "There are so many of them and they're so big." Alan thought for a moment. "We can warn everyone. And we can learn. These harvesters don't know humans. They don't know that we're still out here, still able to move and fight." He turned to his bridge crew. "Send everything we've learned to Earth immediately. Then let's shadow one of these ships. We need to find their weaknesses." Back on Earth, Admiral Blackwell received the message. She went straight to the president. "We know what's happening now," she told President Washington. "This is an invasion. Someone called the Harvesters has shut down Council technology so they can take whatever they want from these worlds." "And Earth?" the president asked. "They probably don't even know we exist," Susan said. "We're so new to space travel that we might not be on their maps, and they certainly don't expect any resistance." "That gives us one advantage," the president said. "Surprise." "We'll need more than that," Susan replied. "We need every ship, every weapon we have. And we need a plan." President Washington nodded. "Call everyone together. Earth will not stand by while these harvesters attack worlds that can't defend themselves. If humanity's outdated fleet is all that stands between these invaders and their prey, then so be it." As Susan left to gather Earth's forces, she thought about how quickly things had changed. 3 months ago, aliens had laughed at human technology. Now that same technology was the last hope for billions of lives across the stars. 6 weeks had passed since Earth discovered the truth about the harvesters. The World Senate had declared a state of emergency. Every ship that could fly was being prepared for battle. Factories worked day and night to build more weapons and supplies. Admiral Susan Blackwell stood in the war room at Earth Command. Around her were the top military leaders from every nation. A large hologram showed the positions of Earth ships and the approaching harvester fleet. "They're moving faster than we expected," Susan said. "Their main force will reach the Thalosian homeworld in 3 days." Defense Secretary Olivia Martinez pointed to other parts of the map. "They've already begun attacking outer colonies. Captain Wright's scouts report they're taking people and resources from each world they visit." High Counselor Vrax, now recovered, enough to attend meetings, looked at the map with all 4 of his eyes. "The Thalosian homeworld has 5 billion people on it," he said. "If the harvesters reach it," he didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what would happen. "We can't let that happen," President Washington said firmly. Admiral Blackwell, what is your plan? Susan stepped forward. We will make our stand at Rigel 7. Here. She pointed to a star system between Earth and the Thalosian homeworld. It's a choke point. The harvesters must pass through it to reach the core worlds. How many ships do we have? The president asked. 217 combat-ready vessels, Susan replied, plus 60 support ships with supplies and medical facilities. And the enemy? At least 30 large vessels that we know of, but each one is many times the size of our largest ship. The room was quiet. The odds didn't look good. What makes... You think we can win this fight? Asked a general. Susan nodded to Dr. Nate Harrington, who had been working with alien scientists. Tell them, Doctor. Nate stepped forward. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes from lack of sleep. We've learned a lot about the suppression field and the harvester ships, he said. 2 important things. First, the field only affects technology that uses quantum principles. Our simple electromagnetic and chemical systems still work. We already knew that, someone said. Yes, but here's what's new, Nate continued. The harvesters themselves use a different kind of technology. Not quantum-based, not like ours either, something else. This lets them work despite the field. But it has a weakness. The room was silent, waiting. They depend on their suppression field to keep them safe, Nate explained. They've never faced enemies who could still fight after the field was activated. They have minimal defenses. So they can be hurt? President Washington asked. Yes, Nate said. And there's more. We think we can turn their field against them. At Rigel 7, Earth's fleet gathered. The ships formed a defensive line around the 4th planet. They had 6 days to prepare before the harvesters arrived. Captain Alan Wright, now in command of a battle group of 20 ships, worked with his crew. To set traps, they placed mines in the asteroid belt. They hid smaller ships behind moons. They set up radar jammers to confuse enemy sensors. On the bridge of his new ship, the EFS Defender, Alan looked at Lieutenant Carmen Rodriguez. How are our special weapons coming along? Almost ready, she said. Dr. Harrington's team sent the final designs yesterday. Our engineering crews have been working non-stop. The special weapons were based on Dr. Harrington's discovery. They were simple devices, using old technology that humans had used for centuries, but they were designed to target the specific energy signatures of harvester ships. And our people? Alan asked. Ready, Carmen replied. Scared, but ready. They know what's at stake. Alan nodded. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the harvesters were coming. They had no idea that humans were waiting for them. The next day, Dr. Kevin Barnes called Alan to the communications room. Captain, we're picking up a transmission from the harvesters. It's being broadcast to all worlds, in this sector. Let's hear it, Alan said. The message was cold and simple. Attention, biological entities. Your technology has been suppressed. Do not resist collection. Cooperate and survive. Resist and be destroyed. They're so confident, Carmen said. They think no one can fight back. That's our advantage, Alan replied. The element of surprise. 2 days later, the harvester fleet appeared at the edge of the Rigel system. They were massive ships, black against the stars, shaped like arrowheads. They moved in a perfect formation, heading straight for the inner planets. Admiral Blackwell's voice came over the secure channel. All ships maintain position. Let them come to us. Wait for my signal. The Earth fleet was hidden. Some ships were behind the planet. Others were running silent near moons or asteroids. The harvesters moved closer, unaware of the trap. When the enemy fleet reached the middle of the system, Susan gave the order. Now! Earth ships rose from their hiding places. Missiles launched from 100 vessels at once. The first wave hit the harvester ships before they could react. Explosions bloomed in space. The harvesters recovered quickly. They changed formation and began to fight back. Strange energy beams shot from their ships, cutting through some of Earth's smaller vessels. Phase 2, Susan ordered. Captain Wright led his battle group toward the largest harvester ship. Activate EMP weapons, he told Carmen. The special weapons, fired. They weren't missiles or lasers, they were electromagnetic pulse generators designed to target the specific frequency of harvester technology. When they hit, the huge enemy ship's lights flickered and died. It works, Carmen shouted. Their systems are shutting down. More Earth ships fired their EMP weapons. More harvester ships went dark. But there were still many enemy vessels, and they were fighting hard. On the Dauntless, Admiral Blackwell watched the battle unfold. Deploy Dr. Harrington's device, she ordered. At the center of Earth's fleet, a special ship activated a large machine. It was the result of all Dr. Harrington's research, a reverse-engineered version of the suppression field, but tuned to affect only harvester technology. The device powered up slowly. Too slowly. 3 Earth ships exploded nearby as a harvester. Beam cut through them. We need more time, the operator said. The device needs 2 more minutes to reach full power. We may not have 2 minutes, Susan said, watching as more Earth ships were hit. Then a voice came over the radio. It was Captain Wright. We'll give you the time you need, Admiral. Defender Battle Group, follow me. Allen's ships flew directly at the largest remaining harvester vessel. They fired everything they had. Missiles, railguns, EMP weapons. The harvester ship turned to face this new threat. 30 seconds to full power, the device operator reported. Susan watched as the defender took a direct hit. Half the ship was gone in an instant, but it kept flying, kept fighting. 10 seconds, 5, device at full power. A wave of energy spread out from the human fleet. It was invisible, but its effects were not. Every harvester ship suddenly went dark. Their weapons stopped firing. Their engines died. In the quiet that followed, Susan looked at the battle map. 8 harvester ships had been destroyed. The rest were drifting, powerless. But 27 Earth ships were gone and many more damaged. Captain Wright? Susan asked. The defender? Communications officer Lisa Bell shook her head. No response, Admiral. Susan closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them and stood straight. Begin. Recovery operations. I want boarding parties on those harvester ships immediately. We need to find out everything we can about them before they can restore power. As Earth ships moved to secure their victory, a message came in from Luna Base. It was Dr. Harrington. Admiral, we have a problem. The field worked, but it's not permanent. Our calculations show they'll be able to restart their systems in about 6 hours. Susan looked at the disabled harvester fleet. Then we have 6 hours to prepare for round 2. 6 hours wasn't much time. Admiral Susan Blackwell organized her remaining ships quickly. Some would board the disabled harvester vessels to learn more about them. Others would rescue survivors from damaged Earth ships. The rest would prepare for the next fight. Susan called Earth with the news of their first victory. We stopped them, but only for a short time. Many of our ships are gone or badly damaged. Can you hold them when they wake up? President Washington asked. I don't know, Susan answered honestly. We caught them by surprise the first time. We won't have that advantage again. She was about to say more when a message came in from one of the boarding teams. Admiral, you need to see this. The boarding team had found something on the largest harvester ship. It was a massive room filled with strange containers. Inside each container was an alien, frozen but alive. They're collecting specimens, said the team leader. We found aliens from at least 12 different worlds. Some of them are from races that went extinct centuries ago, according to our records. Susan felt cold. They've done this before, many times. There's more, the team leader said. We've found their records. The harvesters have been doing this for thousands of years. They find a sector of space with many civilizations, shut down their technology, then collect resources and specimens. Why? Susan asked. What do they want? To study life forms, to take resources, and, the team leader paused, to make sure no civilization becomes strong enough to threaten them. Susan understood now. The suppression field doesn't just help them collect. It keeps other races weak. Meanwhile, on another harvester ship, Lieutenant Carmen Rodriguez had survived. She had been on a small shuttle when the Defender was destroyed. Now she led a team exploring the Harvester engine room. Their power source is like nothing I've ever seen, she told Dr. Harrington over the radio. It's not nuclear, it's not chemical. It uses some kind of crystal that glows purple. Can you take pictures? Nate asked from his lab on Luna. Carmen used her camera to show him the strange engine. Nate studied it closely. That's how they resist the field, he said. Their technology is based on principles we've never seen before, but he looked thoughtful. If we could disable those crystals, their ships would have no power at all. How do we do that? Carmen asked. I'm not sure yet. Keep exploring. Time was running out. Only 2 hours remained before the Harvester ships would restart. On the Dauntless, Susan met with her remaining ship captains via video link. We need a new plan, she said. Our EMP weapons won't work a second time. They'll be ready for them. One captain had an idea. What if we use the old way? Board their ships and fight them directly. Another disagreed. There are too many of them, and we don't know how they fight. Susan thought about it. We need to hit them at their source of power, those purple crystals Lieutenant Rodriguez found. Just then, Carmen's voice came over the radio. Admiral, I found something. These crystal engines are connected to a central control node on each ship, and they all communicate with each other. They're like a network. Nate's voice joined in. A network. That's it. If they're all connected, they all share the same frequency. We might be able to overload them all at once. How? Susan asked. We need to modify our suppression field device. Tune it exactly to the frequency of those crystals. Then pump in as much power as possible. Susan gave the order. Do it. Everyone else prepare for battle. When those ships wake up, we need to keep them busy until the device is ready. 1 hour later, the first Harvester ship's lights came on. Then another, and another. They were waking up faster than expected. They're adapting, Nate warned, learning from what happened. We need more time. Earth ships moved into battle formation. They were fewer now, and many were damaged. But they fought bravely. Missiles and railguns fired at the Harvester ships. The battle began again. This time the Harvesters were ready. They spread out, making it harder for Earth ships to target them. Their strange energy beams cut through Earth's defenses. On the Dauntless, Susan watched her fleet taking heavy damage. How much longer? She asked. 10 minutes, came the reply from the device ship. The new frequency is complex. We have to get it exactly right. Susan made a hard choice. All ships, focus fire on the lead Harvester vessel. Draw their attention to us. The Earth fleet moved together, concentrating their attack on one enemy ship. It worked. The Harvesters turned to face this threat, giving the device ship the time it needed. 5 minutes. 3, 1. Ready, the device operator shouted. Fire, Susan ordered. The modified device activated. This time there was no visible effect at first. Then, one by one, the purple crystals inside each Harvester ship began to glow brighter, and brighter, and brighter. It's working, Nate shouted, over the radio. We're feeding back their own energy into their network. They can't handle it. The first crystal exploded, then another and another. Harvester ships lost power again, but this time it was permanent. Some of the larger vessels began to break apart as their power cores overloaded. Susan watched in amazement. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. The battle was over. The remaining Harvester ships drifted powerless in space. Earth had won. 1 month later, a new Galactic Council met on Earth. Representatives from many alien races sat in a simple room. There were no advanced computers, no quantum fields, no AI assistants, just people talking together. High Counselor Vrax, speaking for his people, stood up. For too long we have depended on technology we barely understand. We forgot the simple things. The basic things. He looked at the humans in the room. Earth reminded us that progress isn't always about having the newest technology. Sometimes it's about remembering the old ways. Admiral Blackwell, now leading Earth's expanded fleet, spoke next. The harvesters are gone from our sector, but they may return, or others like them may come. We need to be ready. The Council agreed to what became known as the Blackwell Doctrine. All civilizations would maintain basic technology alongside their advanced systems. Every world would learn to be self-sufficient. Every ship would have backup systems that didn't depend on quantum fields or AI. As the meeting ended, Susan stood with Captain Alan Wright, who had been found alive in an escape pod. They looked out the window at Earth's fleet, now being rebuilt, with both human and alien technology. They don't laugh at our old-fashioned ships anymore, Alan said. Susan smiled. No, they don't. Sometimes being behind the curve has its advantages. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. To the old ways, Alan said, raising his glass. And to new friends, Susan added, looking at the aliens who were now Earth's allies. Together they would face whatever came next from the stars.